really excited, y'all. We're starting this series, Rockstar Women of Restaurants, and we really think that about y'all. I think y'all have talked to me enough to know that's genuine, and I believe that. And we're excited to have this opportunity. And one of the things that we've always felt like with Schedulefly is that we serve these awesome people all over the country, and we get to interact with them. But y'all are doing your thing, and you're, just full on. So it's enough just to even maybe know some other folks in your town that own restaurants. But I find these people, I'm like, gosh, it would be so cool if we could start to connect them so that we can have this network of restaurant owners that can share ideas, that can share challenges, that can befriend each other, get conversations going, learn from each other. So this is sort of like the really small early beginnings of doing that, but I feel like we have lots of ways we could really connect the folks that are part of our footprint across the country. So but thank you all very much. And so what I'll do, I guess, particularly Jess, since you've got a short time frame here, is if y'all want to each introduce yourselves, and Jess, we'll start with you and just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're located and your concept.
Okay, my name is Jessie Kileen, and thank you, Will. I have to say, you're kind of the rock star, to be honest, and you help make us look good with your service. I mean, we've really been able to. Your company's been really helpful in terms of our own growth and efficiency. So, and your mind, I love how your mind thinks. The things that you come up with, this is pretty special. So, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So I have a restaurant called Grass Burger, and its focus is grass-fed beef. It's pretty simple. Burgers, fries, salads, shakes, bowls. Our goal really is to bring forth regenerative agricultural practices and sustainable practices to a kind of what's been typically a fast food model in the American fare of burgers and fries, make it better and better for the planet, better for us, et cetera, et cetera. And it really was born out of my anger, if you will, at food systems. I'm not a chef by trade. I'm actually an art historian, and I worked in advertising. So like the marketing and branding of our concept is my baby. But I love food politics, and I love nutrition, and I love farm to table and how all of that works. And so this just happened. Anyway, we have our flagship stores in Durango, Colorado, in the Southwest. And we have 2 more in Albuquerque, the same thing, 2 Grass Burgers. And we're getting ready to open a second one in Durango. That's kind of hush hush, but it's in the works. And yeah, it's been a lot of work and labor of love, but I'm really excited by it. I read the bios and looked at your websites, Lisa and Marilyn, and I have to say, I kneel down to both of you. I loved everything I read about you and what you do and what you represent, and I can't wait to hear more about you.
Same for both of you. Yeah, I checked out both of yours as well, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this with you guys and Will especially. I mean, what a cool idea, really. I watched the first episode. I listened to it, and then I actually watched it as well, and it's just such a fun idea. And I'm on Whidbey Island, so outside Seattle, and it's a beautiful spot, but it can feel pretty isolated because you have to take a ferry to get here. We're in a tiny little town, and I'm really good friends with the other restaurant owners who just took me under their wing as soon as I came in 10 years ago. But and I have some other friends in the industry, certainly all over as well, but it's nice to have maybe an outlet to connect with people who have experience and who are dealing with the similar issues that this year especially has made so challenging. So it's, super, super excited about the whole series, Will. It's a cool idea. But so I have the Brayburn, and I'm out on Whidbey Island. I'm not actually a chef originally or trained by any stretch. I always worked in the front of the house. My first job was when I was 14 in a restaurant, and I've done everything from bartending to wedding planning and sort of everything in between. And I worked here for the prior owners when I moved to Whidbey a while back, and always cooked at home, always dated chefs, always enjoyed it, but never had crossed from front of the house to the back of the house until I had the opportunity to take over the business existing from the previous owners. And so the first thing I did was learn everything in the kitchen when I took over, so I knew how to do everything, and discovered that I actually loved it. I think I had talked to Will on maybe the first or second time I was with you, just about the whole dance of the kitchen and that kind of magic that happens when you're really in sync with the people who you're next to. And that I just kind of caught the bug. So now I'm mostly back of the house, but I still float in the front whenever I'm needed. But yeah, it's been a rough year, certainly. And it's starting to look up a little bit. We just opened yesterday for indoor dining at 25% capacity. So it's lovely to have people in our space again and seeing familiar faces, and people are just really excited to have the chance to support us again. So that's been really nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
All right, Marilyn, what's going on? So good to see you again. I've actually gotten to visit with Marilyn in person. We made some film with her years ago, and she's got a beautiful place at Asbury Park right there on the coast in Jersey. So good to see you.
Yeah. So actually, the inspiration for the room at Langosta is from a beautiful painting from an artist from Durango, Sarah Comerford. I don't know if you know her out
The
there.
name is familiar. It's a kind of small town. So yeah.
Wow.
Did an amazing Guadalupe inspiration of with yellow roses, which were my mom's favorite, and it's about 8 feet tall and 4 feet wide. It's gorgeous, and the whole space was done around that piece of artwork. Her sister was the architect on the project that I was.
No kidding.
So that's
Small world.
because I've never been to Durango, but I've always wanted to go and see her. I haven't.
Well, now you know 2 people.
That's right.
And I could come. I don't eat beef, but my husband would love a grass-fed burger.
We make a mean vegan burger too.
Okay.
Nice.
I eat everything but beef. I don't know. I've always had Labradors or Weimaraners, and to me they look like cows. So I'm eating.
That's interesting.
But I'm a coastal girl. My husband's an artist, primarily in the Japanese surf art world. So we surf and travel a lot, and we have a few restaurants. Way too many in a pandemic, honestly. It's been a really tough year for us. None of our concepts are geared towards takeout. They're more upper fun dining, so it's been really challenging to deal with that. And one of our venues has a lot of live music, which we just brought back online about a month ago. And generally we do okay with it lately. We're at 35% capacity now, and they just lifted our curfew. So now we're trying to figure out how to get back into the later evening, not sit down and watch music at 6 o'clock hour,
Right.
so, which has been challenging. Jersey and New York were pretty high up in the cases for a long time. So we had a lot of trouble with booking music and bands getting sick and all of that. So, I'm sure we're all feeling this craziness of trying to maneuver and sit back and look at your life. I'm the opposite. I was a chef for probably 25, 30 years of my career, and then had to take over all of the front of the house duties and get back into, the front, which I'm kind of an introvert. So I really enjoy the back of the house, and I love being on a line when that magic happens. And even when it doesn't, I love directing us out of that chaos and vortex. So the front is uncomfortable for me, but I do it. My brother used to run the front of the house for us, and I don't know, did you meet Richard, Will, when you were in town?
Yeah.
Well, he's been battling stage 4 cancer for a couple of years, so he's out of restaurant land, and gardening and hanging out at home more and doing really well, actually. So I'm glad for that. But it leaves me with a lot of this space where my brother was the actor and the theatrics. I'm like, when can I run in the back and expo food? You know, get me out of here. I don't want to. What does table two want to talk to me about? Are they mad?
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. So, we're going through some major growing pains. We took over a restaurant a month before shutdown, and it was a half event space, partial brewery, and a la carte dining. So we lost all our events for the year. But we also got into some sustainable organic mushroom farming. So we're farming on site in a huge container. And in the middle of the pandemic, we partnered with a French chocolatier, and now we're doing chocolate. So we're kind of moving a little bit out of the restaurant world and more into the selling to restaurant world. Just for the sake of, what are we going to do with this? And, we got pretty rocked by Sandy about 9 years ago now, lost 2 restaurants in that, and thought we would never have to do this again. Our kids were born a couple months before Sandy. So now they're almost a decade old and going through this again. So, we're tired. My husband's like, why the F do we keep doing this? What is our problem? Let's go to the DR and surf, So I don't know how much longer we'll hang on to all this. We'll see.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. You really, I remember that because we were up there not long after, like, I don't know, a couple years maybe, but you had twin daughters, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because you were holding them like this. They were,
Yeah.
we got them in that video. We did.
Well, now they're 8 and they're a handful.
Well,
virtually homeschooling and
What about catering, Mayor? Oh, I'm sorry, Will, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, go ahead, Jess, please.
I'm just wondering how the catering piece has been going for you. Has that held strong?
It's been terrible. We're at 10 people capacity for indoor events. So, they just passed a new ordinance to extend the outside dining, but as of November, we weren't even allowed to tent outside anymore in both the counties that we do business in. So our outdoor got shut down, and then the indoor, who's going to do anything with 10 people? So,
yeah.
Wow.
We're hoping, we're booking now, but people are really nervous. They don't know. Our governor's very conservative.
Yeah. And they're setting the tone. For us in New Mexico, so we're in the 2 states, and Colorado has actually been fairly easy to maneuver through, and there's been some leniency in areas that have been impactful, but New Mexico has hobbled the restaurants tremendously. So I know what you're talking about. It's just so hard to operate in that setting, and you're doing everything right, but the law is the law, and so anyway, it's interesting.
Crazy. I'm also the outgoing chair of the Restaurant Association for New Jersey, so it was quite a year trying to manage that and all of this, and it's just, I applaud the governor for keeping us safe, but I don't applaud that let's penalize the whole industry for a couple bad operators. We have chronic locations that we know are breaking the law all over the place, and nothing happens to them, and we're all sitting here just waiting for more, and then it scares everybody and they don't want to go out anyway. So.
Here's something funny. One of the most successful chefs that I know of right now is a woman in Maui. She's a private chef. Her 2 children are champion surfers. Her daughter's coming up. She's 15, doing international contests. Anyway, she's supporting their family of 5 through her cooking alone. And so maybe it's time to sell and move to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Right, set your sights high. I don't know, like that's what interesting thing about COVID, isn't it? I mean, it's turned everything upside down. And there's opportunity there.
I mean, it's been really good for honing in on what your core is. Between all of my operations, we would hire for season about 200 people, and every April 75 to 100 of them would be new people. And it's extremely overwhelming, and we've been with 17 core staff members for about a year now. That's it. We didn't hire because we weren't indoors all summer. So it's been really nice to kind of figure out what's wrong with us, what do we need, and what's great about us, and what should we just put to the side and know we do that okay, and let's figure out the rest. Where before it was just constant movement all the time, and by the time you were in it, it was like, for me doing payroll, like, who is that person? I don't even know the name on their check. It takes me a year to get to know these people. So that's been good, but it's, especially with kids, I don't know if any of you have young children, but just the kind of stress level that is surrounding the whole family and dynamic in this, and how it's playing out in their lives. And they've been virtual, then not virtual, then virtual again, then they were not virtual, and now they're back in virtual. And it's like trying to maneuver through that with your kids and your employees and their kids. It's, we have also a nonprofit, and we just had a big meeting today, actually. We're launching a nonprofit food truck through our nonprofit, and we're going to go after this grant with the Boys and Girls Club, and we're going to do it on the kind of collaborative piece of a mindfulness nonprofit that works with kids, my nonprofit that works with kids and food, and the Boys and Girls Club that has a workforce development. And everybody's like, what do you mean mindfulness? And I'm like, that's like the most important piece for these kids, for us, for everybody right now, is just trying to keep yourself balanced in a meditative state, that you're not going to look back 5 years from now and go, oh, that's why I got cancer, because for a year and a half, I was so friggin' stressed out. My body has just taken 5 years to catch up to that stress, which I guarantee is really going to hit our industry down the road, because you can't carry this day to day, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow mindset and come out of it without some sort of physical or mental repercussion. It's insane.
It's a lot.
How do y'all, I want to ask that, Lisa, I'll touch on this because it's a question I always find very interesting with restaurant owners before all this happened. To me, it's just, I always have so much admiration for y'all, because you're balancing so much, you're putting out so many fires. There's always just something happening, like stress. Now you have this, like, because that's been my biggest concern about the industry, is like there's the financial piece and all this stuff, but it's like the mental health of owners and employees, particularly y'all that bear so much burden of having to lay people off and having to figure this stuff out. So the mental health piece of this seems to be, it's just something I've been very concerned about. I'm curious how y'all are finding, the right balance that you need to sustain yourself.
I don't know that I don't know that I would call what I've found balance necessarily. I'm certainly striving for it, but therapy helps me. I have a wonderful woman who I've been seeing for years, who is like my lifeline. And I remember when I first started seeing her, I had the restaurant for maybe 4 years, and I bought it and dove right into it. Like I moved here, I bought the restaurant. I met my husband less than 3 months later. He's a wine distributor, so he came in to sell me wine, and so I had all of these new things that I was just like really diving into, and I was putting everything into it. I was only 29 at the time, and I didn't think anything about self-care or anything other than trying to just put everything I had into this business and try and grow it. And I remember the first time I saw her, she asked, so like, do you take days off? Do you pay yourself? And I said, well, I don't really take days off. I do bring home orange juice and toilet paper from the restaurant. So, it kind of evens out. I get what I need from the restaurant. It's okay. And she's like, okay, so that's probably not a good place to be. Let's work on getting yourself a salary and maybe taking a day off. So I close for 2 days a week now, which I didn't close for any days until the pandemic hit. And a big part of me wants to be open again for all days as soon as I possibly can, as soon as I have the staff to help me out. And the other part of me has finally realized, like, I need that time. I still work one of the days because I'm active in the kitchen or in the front of the house all the other days, basically from open to close. So, and we do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it's, I have a lot of, back end stuff to do on one of those days. And the other one, I've really finally learned to set some boundaries and just say, this is my time. Even if I'm home, my brother has moved in with us since COVID as well, because he ended up sort of displaced. But he and my husband both just leave me alone on whichever day that is that I pick. I've really figured out that I need to just disconnect from everyone and everything for one day to just kind of reset myself. And I've slowly, over the last year, because there has been even more stress, I've realized the effect that it certainly could have on my health and maybe is having on my health because, I'm just in it all of the time and I carry so much stress. So I think I've gone to more lengths in the last year to actually take care of myself. I have a nutrition coach now who I check in with every week, and I have, I've got the therapy every week, and I've been trying to actually get out and exercise. The things that I have put off for the last decade, I've finally started to prioritize, which actually feels like a bit of a silver lining to all of this, maybe, just to put that in the forefront of something I know I need to do. So I'm here and healthy, and I'm better at the business because I have finally taken that time. Like, I just realized how stretched thin I was all the time. I was never effective at many of the things I was doing. I was just kind of always spinning. So that's helped me be a little better at my job and at managing people and being able to focus. And I don't know I would have had that push if all of this didn't happen, because I just would have still been in go mode all the time, which I still am. But yeah, I guess I've learned to manage and prioritize myself a little bit more this year.
That's awesome. I mean, you sounds like you've made a ton of progress with that, and it's so important because it's, that makes what you do sustainable, personally sustainable. So you don't out. And I always think about that whole, the whole thing. You get on the plane and you got your kid, and like, hey, if the oxygen comes down, you got to take it first, and then you give it to your kid, because otherwise you can't, you're not going to be able to do anything to help. And so that's such an important piece that y'all are able to do that. I always find it really, I'm glad to hear that you're prioritizing that, Lisa, because it's hard to do that sometimes, because y'all are so giving, like restaurant people in general are, just, and people that own restaurants are, and women are, and it's you just give and think about others. But that aspect of taking care of yourself just ironically probably enables you to give more for longer, I guess, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, hope that's my hope. That's what I'm shooting for.
Jess, I know you got to go in a couple minutes. How about you? What are you doing to manage through all this?
Well, you say giving, I say controlling. So that was the part I really had to pry my cold, stiff fingers off of the wheel and give up some responsibility and control in order to get some of my own life back. And I mean, the first 3 or 4 years, I didn't see my oldest son. I have 3 sons like that. I like feel like I missed. There's this blank spot in our history of that time. And so I made a conscious decision to change that system in our household. And so what happened is I created more of a team. So we have a minority partner, and then my husband works with me as our CFO, and he was a big pusher for that. I mean, he saw what was happening, and he never worked back of house, so he didn't get like how addicting it is back there. And um, so just eventually over time, I just handed off little pieces to Cody, and then we ended up hiring a strong team underneath. And then for one, it helped opening the second store. It changed things because you have to look at your systems, and you can't be both two places at once. And so you ended up having to trust. And anyway, it was a process, but I do feel like I have come to a much healthier place as a woman and as a parent. I still have one at home, and we have family dinners, and well, as much as he's 16, so he doesn't want to see us very much. But we try, and also this is something big. But a couple of years ago, you're gonna roll your eyes. I bought a horse, and because for me that's a really special hobby, and when I'm with my horse, and it isn't as much as other people because I do work full time, but that time is carved out for me. I don't bring my cell phone, and I don't think about other things outside of, otherwise, and when you're on a horse, like surfing, I imagine, Marilyn, I've surfed a couple times. I'm terrible at it. So I'm mostly, when I'm surfing, I'm just thinking about how to stay standing, right? But, doing sports and things like that, you're just in your body, and you can let go of that extraneous things, things, all the details that will never go away. Never, all the details and all of the every day, they're always there. Doesn't matter how hard you grab onto them.
Where's your horse? Do y'all have it, where do you keep your horse? Do you have a barn nearby, or do y'all have it on your property, or?
No, we have a community barn in the area that I live. It's a mile down the road. So so it's nice because we help each other. And that was the bell of
That's your bell.
Company. So I'm so sorry to leave. This is really lovely. And I really enjoyed seeing you, Will, and meeting you, Lisa and Marilyn.
It's nice to meet you as well.
I gotta
Bye.
Bye.
We'll do another one. Thank you.
go. Hi, thank you.
That's great. That's funny. We actually, I don't know if I've told either of y'all this, but we moved to a farm in April, actually, ironically. We had already set everything up, and we were supposed to be closing, and then COVID hit, and I was like, we're not moving anywhere. But we had to renegotiate this thing, and it worked out. So we moved, I've lived in Charlotte my whole life. We're now in Waxhaw, which is a little town outside of Charlotte. But the funny thing was, my son and one of my boys and I just came in from feeding our 3 horses literally right before this started. And we were out there, and they were harassing each other. And the one of them's she's kind of bossy, and she tries to eat the food of the old guy that we have. They're all like old horses, but we've had so much rain. Have y'all had a lot of rain, Marilyn? We've had so much rain this year. We're living in a mud pit right now. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, we've had more snow than probably in the last 5 years here in the last 3 weeks.
Oh, just in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, Scott and the girls have been in Texas for the last month. They flew back the day that snowstorm hit.
Oh.
They left at 2:00
Oh,
and
wow.
hit that night. Luckily for them.
Yeah.
But, it was like 25 degrees when they left Texas. But they missed all the snow until today. And I was home with, we decided to do a couple things during COVID. You spoke of therapy. My husband and I go to an EMDR therapist together, and a homeopath and the whole thing. But we got a puppy, and we call it the diversion puppy. So it's forcing us to get out, to run on the beach, to go hiking, to get the girls off the computer and teach them a little bit about compassion and family time. Because my girl's famous phrase is, "What are you doing home, Mom? Why aren't you at work?" you're always at work. You know, why are you,
Oh,
well, now it's like, I get you have to be on your cell phone, you're working, you know, so I wanted to change that a little because, you know, you don't want to look back and be like, where did that 5 years go? What, I missed all that, you know.
Mhm.
This summer I put them in surf camp and I made myself go sit at the beach with them for the days they were there, just to like watch my kids surf, you know. I mean, it's crazy that they are already doing that and I've missed some of that. So, you know, all of this I think is forcing us to take time. I mean, maybe it's not the time we thought we wanted to take or the time that we should be taking, but we're forced to do it. And, you know, it's like, let's look at what we can do more of that and try and hopefully get into a habit of it, because I think we all get in a habit of working and it feels really strange for me when I'm not at work. Like, I don't know what
Yeah.
to do with my, like, what's my hobby? Work, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so
That's been a real thing
yeah.
for me this year, realizing that I don't really have much in my life other than the restaurant. And there's such a fine line between like, you know, trying to figure out if, you know, the level of healthiness that is for me. I mean, is, you know, this is still super gratifying for me and I'm still really motivated to be here and be doing this. And but I still have my days where it's like, what am I doing? I don't really have any life outside the restaurant. My husband is lovely and patient and he's in the industry in some respects, so he understands and knows. And I go home and I see him at night, but it's brief. And then I never have energy really on days off to do anything. Um, and so I was actually questioning this winter, especially after we had to, because we were allowed to open for indoor dining at 25% capacity and then 50% last summer. And then we were shut down again in November. And we've been closed since November until this week, just for indoor dining. I have a tent outside that we have kept. So we've had outdoor dining this whole time. But where was I going with that? I got completely sidetracked. There's a shocker. Oh, but somebody, a friend of mine who owns a small business, she owns a salon, and she said that she's closing because what she realized was that while COVID has been hard and the you know, her business has suffered certainly as a result of that, she was not finding the joy even prior to COVID,
mm,
you know, in having that ownership and having the responsibilities of the business and not ever being able to just leave it at work and go home to her life. And so she made the decision to close and she's working somewhere else and is just very happy now. But it just struck me as an interesting thought, you know, did this bring me joy before COVID? And was I still really jazzed about doing what I'm doing? Because if there was a component there where I was not, then maybe it's time to try and figure out what the next step is. But it did still give me that whatever it is that I need before all of this happened. And it's been such a hard year, but I've found so many positives from it, like with my staff, especially. I can't even begin to say how crazy it is every day to know that they have like put so much of their life into my business and what my dream has been, especially this last year when I had to lay so many off. But the kind of small core group of people that has stayed with me have just stepped into roles that I never would have necessarily put them into. And, you know, really put everything into this, you know, texting me after hours about things they've seen that might work and ideas and just creating more of a cooperative sort of family feel in running this business where it's really collaborative between this core little staff that I've had this whole year. And that's been super gratifying for me to just watch that happen. And I think my business will be much stronger as a result because it doesn't feel so confined to just the four walls anymore. It's like we have the tools to maybe expand and grow and do something different as well and take the business to another level. if we decide to, because we just have learned so much this year and being able to just shift business models like every day, it feels like. That's been pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know how I got there, but that was
No, I
side tangent.
agree with you. I mean, I have learned that I want less restaurants. We have 7 concepts and a couple side projects at the moment, and we have 17 people running all of this business, and
Wow.
that's really challenging, but it feels really good to really know these people and
Mhm.
to feel their commitment. And just like you said,
Yeah.
I have bartenders who are delivering liquor and servers who are doing salads, and line people who are managing the front, and everybody's just pitching in and doing whatever, painting and cleaning and whatever we need to do. And that's a good core to grow from. It's always been really challenging for me in Asbury Park, especially because of the volume, to even get to know my customers.
Mm.
And that's been really sweet to be able to actually spend 10 minutes talking to a table, where before it was always a burden. Like I'm always en route to another thing and
Yeah.
never have a moment to just get to know somebody, a staff member or a customer. And it's tough. It's tough balancing the motherhood piece of it, and trying to figure out, like, I envy my husband. He's an artist. He has a studio in the back garage from our house, and when he's stressed or whatever, he just goes to the studio, and I'm like, where do I go?
Yeah.
Make a pot of coffee? That's my like big to do at home,
Yeah.
or clean something. I want something to go to besides work, because I love my work, but that's a whole other set of mental burden on yourself to not be able to step away. I always
Mhm.
said, every time I friggin' go get my toes done, something goes on fire or a walking goes down. Like, can I have 20 minutes to
Yeah.
just get my feet done, without feeling stressed that the whole world's going to come tumbling down,
Yeah.
because it's Murphy's Law. It does. Why didn't that
Every
happen
time.
20 minutes later when I got back to the restaurant so I can have my
Right.
20 minutes? And through all of this, I feel like I'm getting my 20 minutes. And I don't know if it's just the universe saying, okay, you're finding some sort of balance for yourself, so we're not going to, bother you so much and stress you out as much on that level. Or maybe it's just there's so much stress that you don't notice the little things as much anymore. It's I think we're going to look back and learn a lot about our culture and ourselves from this, and also look at it as, why are we still in this a year later? Like,
Yeah.
cannot believe that we're on this call talking about shutdowns across the country, and that reality that it's happening for the whole world right now, and it's still happening a year later. And what is that going to look like for our industry and for ourselves? And it's, I don't know, it's a very weird time. And for people like us who like to travel, I feel very claustrophobic and trapped. you know Look at airline flights, let's go to Hawaii, let's go to the Dominican Republic, let's go to Puerto Rico. And it's like, no, we've got to quarantine, and then we got to quarantine when we come back. And you've got to do all these things. It's just so complicated to enjoy life outside of where you are anymore. It's weird for me.
Mhm.
I just want to go somewhere else all the time. And I look back on when I started, and I traveled all winter. I was in the snowboard industry. I was a rep. I would ride 5 days a week, drive to Killington for the day, take a 6-hour drive to just go ride and come home that night. And now it's like, I can't even get the energy to go away for an hour trip to the Poconos. Seems like a
Yeah.
burden to me. When back then I would work my butt off all summer, cook, be a chef, and then take my winters off and have fun. And I probably, in hindsight, made just as much money as I do now. I have more stuff I have to pay for. So it's all relative. And I don't know where I was going with that, but
It's always interesting to try to find that balance between in business between growing and then wanting to have some balance in life. And when you're growing all the time, it's hard to, I mean, even if you delegate well and all that, it still becomes really challenging. This has forced people to stop and do what both of y'all have talked about and reassess. I always wonder about stuff like this, if it's gonna, I mean, we've made changes, around our house, and all kinds of stuff we've found a lot of positives from this, but vaccines going to get rolled out, people are going to start going back out. I wonder what it'd be like a couple years from now, like how, what will have permanently changed, or will we like fall back in just with the natural momentum of just kind of getting back. Like, remember 9/11, like everybody was rah together and nice, and everybody was like, for a while there, it was like everybody was, pulling together, and then and it's like over time, it's just like, oh, now we're mad at it again. And it's like, I don't know, human nature is really interesting, but I think there's a lot of pent up demand for the consumers, people, to just get out and get back to some sense of normalcy, which means you get busy again and you got to hire more people. And then next thing you know, you're like, holy cow, we're right back where we were. Like, I wonder how much of that will happen. I'm really curious.
Till they slap the tip minimum wage on us and we all put computers on the table and no more people are going to work in the industry.
Oh yeah.
What is it where you are? Is there service wage? I mean, is it a service wage state? I don't know. I can't remember.
We
for
have
New Jersey.
A minimum wage and a tipped wage.
You do have a tip wage. Okay, yeah.
When they take that away, we're in trouble.
Yeah, we don't have tipped wage out here. Minimum wage has just gone up this year for everyone to $13.65 an hour. So my servers, my 16-year-old dishwasher, like whoever is $13.65 an hour. And it's crazy. I mean, it's supposed to go, the goal is to go up to 15. And so it has increased every year for the last, I guess they passed that here 2 years ago now.
So
and
how
it's
do you deal with the explain to me how are your employees tipped, or are you paying them a wage?
They're tipped. Yeah, we've this year changed our tipping structure because business was so weird, and it was, we were doing just takeout for a while, and so it's like, how do they make I mean, they're still getting paid $13.65 an hour, but they're used to getting that plus full tips. I mean, they make really good money because they were still making tips like anywhere else. I came from, Vermont, which was I think I was making $3.89 an hour when I left plus tips, but because they've gotten so used to that, I had to try and figure out some sort of structure to still be able to compensate them. So we actually do a pooled tip structure now, and I'm shocked that they have adapted to that and been so okay with it, quite frankly. So they, even though we're doing indoor dining now, they all have different roles that they kind of switch. So we'll have someone do, bar and floor and takeout and whatever. And we just pool all of their tips based on the shift and the hours they work, and it goes onto their paycheck now. And there's a large percentage, not large, but there's a larger percentage than there used to be that now goes to the back of the house as well, which helps, just lessen the disparity between the two, front of the house and back of the house. And they're all really happy. I was super nervous that they would try and find something else where they would have more of the traditional tip structure again. And this seems to be working for all of them, but it's still incredibly difficult when it's that much of a minimum wage to just figure out how to run the business. I mean, it's huge. $13.65 when it goes to 15. I mean, it's the biggest challenge that I have.
We're gonna go from $4.13 to 15.
Oh my God!
Oh, gosh,
it's going to kill us. My
I mean,
payroll
how you can't even
$1,000 this year if that goes through federally. And we've never tipped the back of the house because when you're working for $4.13 plus your tips, you're walking away with $25-$30 an hour.
Right.
The kitchen line guy that's making 25 is okay with that, but when that starts going to the floor making $40-$50 an hour,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to figure out how they give some of that to the back. And it's just, we're not, our culture isn't that in New Jersey and New York and the metropolitan area. We just never lived with that. I don't, you see it happening already where lots of restaurants are switching to tablets and doing away with service industry people altogether, which why do this?
Right. Yeah.
And the bar, we haven't had bars. We're not allowed to have bar seating. We haven't been at all since
Same
COVID.
here.
So
Mhm.
there's no reason to have a bartender anyway, a service bartender. So it's going to be really crazy when it happens. I think a lot of the industry is going to not be able to move through it into a financially viable place,
Yeah, I mean, that's always, even where we're at. When I bought the restaurant, I think it was, I don't remember what minimum wage was. I think it was closer to $8 an hour at that point. And they have just gradually increased it every year since then. I've had the restaurant for 10 years now. And so since I've had it, had to, make it work, because that's been the law here. But it's not profitable. I mean, it's not really profitable. I remodeled 2 years ago, which in hindsight was really poor timing, but we dumped a ton of money into the restaurant and space. And so now I have a huge construction loan that I've been trying to deal with for the last year, which is why I've felt more of a push to make sure that I'm constantly staying open and sort of, constantly switching things to try and figure out what people are looking for that could be more profitable and for us, because I have that huge loan hanging over my head. So I really have to make it work. And trying to manage that with that payroll expense is even with a small staff. I had about 45 last summer, like the summer before COVID, and I had 23, and that was it when we closed last year. But I have 14 now. And even that is just, it's a lot. I can't imagine, how do you even plan going from $4 plus to 15? Like, how, I don't
know how we're going to do it.
When does that go into effect?
It depends.
It's if it passes, right? Yeah.
Federal.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the federal. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll override the state, but we have a Democratic governor, so he'll go along with it. I mean, the $15 an hour, we've kind of scaled up to that for the past few years, knowing it was going to hit. But the tipped wage, we never thought that would become part of this equation, which is, we're going to have to revamp everything. And probably end up losing a lot of people in the industry while that growing pain is happening,
Yeah.
because they're just, a bartender on a Saturday at Langosta sometimes makes $800, and then I'm going to pay them $150 on top of that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to be asking them for money.
I know.
You guys pay my paycheck every week.
Seriously. Wow. Oh yeah.
Has it always been no tipped wage there?
Yeah, as far as, I moved here for the first time in 2003, and I was here just a couple of years, but it was same then. It was, so, maybe way earlier, it was a tipped wage state, but to my knowledge since then, for the most part, it has been that way. So it's structurally, I don't know. It's, in hindsight, had I known, I was young and I didn't do as much research going into this as I probably should have. I was just so excited about the opportunity. And then I took over and realized, wow, coming from Vermont, coming from New England, where, I worked in restaurants and it was that way, to seeing the percentage that was payroll really when I was in it was shocking to me. And if I could do it all over again, I would not have come to Washington State to own a restaurant. This is a very difficult state to be a restaurant owner, and their taxes here are really kind of insane as far as the way it's all structured. There are a lot of hurdles, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think New Jersey too, more so with our liquor license laws and situation more than anything, because our I don't know what it's like by you, but here a liquor license is like a piece of real estate. Some towns you pay 150 for it, sometimes towns you pay $1 million for it, depending on,
wow.
Wow.
you know,
Yeah, it's not like that here. I have heard of that though. I can't imagine. So how do they just base it on,
location.
yeah.
Like buying a house. If you buy a house in an area like Princeton, you're going to spend
Mhm.
a couple million. You buy a liquor license in Princeton, you're going to spend $1 million.
Oh my
Mhm.
God.
So that's why
And
we,
is there a certain amount? Like, is it like a lottery where there are only X amount of licenses they give out, or?
yeah, each town has its own amount of licenses. So you can't move that license out of the township either. So
Wow.
they sell it within the township. And, that's why we have never gotten a beer and wine license here, because the liquor license holders are so adamant not to lose the value. I don't blame them.
Mhm.
But, I've bought real estate in places where I thought it was going to go up exponentially and it declined. So, you're taking a gamble. I own 2 liquor licenses and 1 property that's BYOB. And honestly, I make more money at the BYOB. My insurance is so much less. Everything is
Mhm.
less complicated than the other locations. We have crazy
Wow.
liquor license laws. Now we're going to have the marijuana to deal with. It's like, you get to the point where it's more about legislation and taxes and laws than it is about. When I started, I was a chef operator. My health care was $60 a month, and my taxes were nothing, and there was nobody really paying attention to me, and I just cooked and had fun and fed people and felt great. And now I'm just, every day I'm like, what's happening? Let's listen to Governor Murphy's new bills
Yeah.
that we're gonna have to deal with this week.
Too
Crazy.
much government, y'all. Golly, that's crazy. That is absolutely nuts. Well, well, I want to wrap this because I've had y'all for an hour and I want to respect your time. And but is there anything else that y'all wanted to rap about tonight before we kind of close it up? Anything going on in the industry that you're excited about or concerned about, other than all that mess?
I feel like I could go on for hours about everything I'm concerned about. I'm always excited about it, but the concerns, the list is exponentially more long than prior years. Just knowing that realistically the industry is just so rocked and changed by this. And even though I talked earlier about my optimism and feeling like, I could, what projects might grow from this, that's real and that's there, but it's also, maybe partially fear-based, knowing that the restaurant that I have poured so much into is gone in some respects. This will not, we won't be the same again. I feel like I'd like to believe that we could be, but I think everything is just it has been so changed by this year that it's just really, restaurants have always been, unfamiliar territory. You never really know what you're facing the next day. Part of me loves that and keeps me excited, but it's really, it's pretty scary looking forward, trying to just wondering if it's going to continue to be this challenging every day moving forward, trying to pay attention to what the governor is saying and the different mandates and what we have to do now to make sure that we're able to be open. And I don't know, I feel like I haven't seen even the most of the challenges that we'll face, that will come maybe years down the road as a result to all of this. So I don't know, that's a little scary, I suppose.
Yeah, but
I
it's
also
real.
Yeah.
feel like we, having been through Sandy and having so much devastation personally and financially, I know what does come out of this, and this feels the same on some levels, that you start to connect with more like-minded people, whether they're your customers or your fellow industry owners or operators or chefs or whatever. And personally, my tolerance for nonsense and lack of compatibility from people gets more pronounced. And I start to remember that there are millions of people on the universe. I don't have to be friends with every single one of them, purchase from every single one of them, or hire every single one of them. I can hone in and find the connections that fit my ethics and moral values. And and I've been on so many podcasts and Zooms and things over the last year. I mean, it's like the new thing, but I've been able to connect with so many people that I've never would have had the chance, like just here today, to meet you,
Mhm.
lovely women, and now know that when I travel, I would like to go where you are and see what you're doing. And this industry, though it looks on TV to be so full of camaraderie and everybody's helping each other, and it's a very fearful industry because the profit margins are so small, if you have any at all at this point, that we all get so worried about letting anybody in or giving anything up. And maybe I'm just probably older than most women in this industry and have been doing this for almost 40 years, that now I want to help everybody. I want to collaborate with everybody. I don't want to do anything on my own anymore. I want to, partner and do with people who are like-minded. And I think this tends to connect you to that, where when you're in your busy time and everything's great, you don't even connect with yourself, never mind other people. So now we have that opportunity. So I try to look at what will I think of this a year from now, and stay in that mindset that don't get caught up in all this, because a year from now you're going to look back and say, well, yeah, you could have seen that coming if you took the time. So why'd you worry so much about it? Or, maybe you should have just gone for a 2-day hike in the woods, and nobody's really going to look at you a year from now and question that. So, you have to start putting things in perspective in all of this. And if it doesn't work out, there's that old adage, if it doesn't feel like the end, then it's not the end. Or if,
Mhm.
if it's not working out, oh well, it's not over. You can still do something else. You can still change things. And at least our customers, hopefully, I mean, there will be a percentage of people on the planet who are totally clueless to what's going on in this world right now or in this industry. They will have some patience with the fact that we've had to reinvent ourselves almost every day for the last year. And that's a good thing. Maybe it'll calm people down, get them to enjoy the experience of hospitality again, instead of being so demanding in it all the time.
Yes, I agree
Yeah.
with that.
I
I
hope.
have seen some of that too. I mean, just even in we were slammed last night and so dreadfully understaffed. I had two in the front and me and one other person in the kitchen, and we were just buried. And it was one of those moments where it's like, oh my God, these people are going to be so unhappy. It just took 45 minutes to get them their order. And everyone was, I mean, there were no issues. It was shocking to me. Everyone was just so grateful to have, like, to be able to be inside again, and they were super understanding, and they just bought more drinks and hung out. And it was a recipe for disaster. In my mind, I was just freaking out thinking this is horrible. And they were super stoked still. They were really happy. And that, I feel like a year ago, I would have had 15 Yelp reviews by now. I mean, it just would have been, I know how it would have been, and it was not that way. They were just remarkably understanding. So I guess that is some light in all of this as well.
As long as they don't revert back and forget.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. But people really do. One good thing for the industry is that, I mean, like you said, Marilyn, maybe there's some percent, most people know that y'all got, hit really hard, really unfairly, and not, I mean, just no fault of your own, and just you've been open and shut down. I mean, even the customers are like, I don't even know, am I allowed to go inside a place, or like, what's going on now? You can't keep up with it. It's crazy. People get it, and they are, I believe, more aware than ever of how much they care about y'all and your teams and your establishments, and how important it is to have them. I mean, this is something I've talked to each of you about, and we've all talked about for years, is just how, what y'all do is like critical to the fabric of, the culture, and any great city or great town is great when you narrow it down, in large part because there's great restaurants and, often great music and stuff. And that brings people together for the highs and lows of life and the ups and downs. And particularly independent restaurants like y'all, where there's so much of your heart and your passion and your love poured into it, you being the owner. It's people realize that more now. I mean, we felt like that for a long time, but I've had a lot of my friends and family in the last year saying, you were right, man. Our favorite restaurants aren't open right now. This really stinks. Like, how do we help them? Like, what can we do? Because we miss them a lot. So that's a good thing. And I think that will hopefully continue for y'all. What you do is really, really important, and it matters so much. A lot of people are conscious of it. Some people, maybe not as conscious. I bet a lot more of them are now. But what you do is just, it's awesome. And the people you work with and the people you serve get so much value in their lives for what you all provide every day with so much love. So I tip my hat as always. Thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, y'all, I'm gonna let you roll. I really appreciate you taking the time, both of you, this evening. I know, Lisa, you probably got to get in that kitchen, but
yeah.
Thanks for tell your staff thanks for covering, because this is great. Really appreciate it. And
thanks for including me.
Yeah, and just y'all stay tuned. Keep watching these. We're gonna keep doing them. If you want to come on another one, just let me know, because I mean, there's a good number of y'all that I'm happy to talk to anytime, and I think y'all all are wonderful women who all seem to enjoy getting to know each other and respect each other. So thank you very much, and as always, y'all, if you need anything, just where I am. Let me know.
Thanks, Will. Marilyn, it was really nice to meet you. I wish you all of the luck in whatever direction you end up going, and maybe having less restaurants. that sounds
and more time to travel.
Yes, that sounds really nice right now. So anyway, thank you for taking the time. It was nice to chat with both of you.
Yeah, you too.
All right,
all
y'all.
right, take care.
See y'all.
All right, good night.